Good evening. I'll walk you through each news topic in a listener-friendly way, translating the details into English and keeping the facts and figures as provided. Topic 1. Oil prices plunged on hopes of de-escalation with Iran after President Trump called off strikes and talks were reported to resume. When President Trump announced he was standing down from new strikes on Iran and suggested talks would resume, the geopolitical risk premium retreated and oil prices fell sharply. WTI dropped roughly 5 to 6% to about 79.80, and Brent fell about 4 to 5% to around 83 to 84. Iran denied plans for direct talks with the U.S., saying only discussions with Oman over Hormuz issues were ongoing, while reports of a nearby tanker explosion off Oman and other safety incidents left risks and uncertainty intact. Markets reacted with bond yields sliding, the 10-year down 6 basis points, the 2-year 4 BP, the 30-year 25 BP, and investors reshuffling positions on expectations of easing geopolitical tensions. Topic 2. Prompting coordinated yen intervention by the U.S. and Japan. Last week, the U.S. and Japan jointly intervened to buy yen, pushing U.S. JPY off 163.7, briefly back toward the 157 area, and even toward 155 immediately after the announcement. A rare coordinated move not seen since 1998. The intervention aimed to stop disorderly yen weakness and knock-on volatility in markets and bond markets. Japan signaled willingness to intervene further. The U.S. joined in part to prevent Japan from funding intervention by large sell-offs of its treasuries, and reports that the Treasury may have sold euros to buy yen caused market confusion. Japan also flagged using FEMA repo facilities if needed. Officials said they stopped disorderly moves and warned they could act again, but analysts warn the move is likely temporary, given structural drivers such as U.S.-Japan rate differentials, Japan's slow monetary normalization, and fiscal stance, and some critics said the financing method could damage trust. Topic 3. AstraZeneca shares fell on reports of a potential $400 billion tie-up with Bristol Myers. Visa is buying fraud detection firm BioCatch for $2.4 billion. SpaceX's share plunge after its IPO adds pressure ahead of its first earnings. The FT reported AstraZeneca discussed a potential merger with Bristol Myers that, if completed, could value the combined entity near $400 billion. AstraZeneca shares fell as much as about 7%, around 6.1% in London, while Bristol Myers rose about 6% pre-market, with questions about strategic fit, antitrust, and patent cliffs noted. Visa agreed to acquire behavioral biometrics firm BioCatch for $2.4 billion in cash, aiming to bolster fraud detection by analyzing keystrokes and touch patterns and leveraging BioCatch's claimed footprint across roughly 350 million banking partnerships and 760 million users. SpaceX's shares plunged more than 50% from post-IPO highs, putting pressure on the company ahead of its first public earnings. Investors will focus on Starship timelines and commercialization, hosted compute and data center strategies, AI initiatives, and capital spend plans as key drivers of near-term performance. Topic 4. Iran war raises new security concerns for critical tech infrastructure. Liechtenstein register cyber attack threatens corporate transparency. Coldcard hardware wallet flaw tied to an $89 million Bitcoin theft. Physical attacks linked to the Iran conflict have increasingly targeted data centers, including Gulf facilities such as Bahrain's AWS presence, with drone and missile strikes, and at least 5 reported sites hit. The IRGC publicly named 29 tech targets, including major cloud and AI firms, and framed data centers as legitimate targets tied to U.S. military and intelligence links. In Liechtenstein, the National Register of Economic Beneficiaries was hacked overnight, exposing or allowing access to about 31,000 records. The government took systems offline and launched a response team, warning the breach threatens corporate transparency and AML terror financing controls, though no data tampering has been